part of an international economy in which leaving their country of origin is also a return flow of money. That is, they make money in Germany or in France or in the United States, and they send it back, which sustains the economy there, because in many societies it becomes a major export, the export of people. And it brings in money. And unlike other exports you get paid for once, when you export a person, you get paid for a lifetime. He or she working in a metropolitan keeps sending money back, whether it's a regular monthly payment or a birthday present or a wedding. But when you put that all together, that's a big flow of money into that third world country upon which many of them have come to depend. The one I've studied recently, because I'm fascinated by it, is Mexico. And you keep reading now about gang warfare in the American military. That's all about the collapse of Mexico. Mexico solved the problem that all of its rural people, I'm exaggerating, but a huge number of its rural Mexican farmers and small merchants in Mexican villages, one fellow here sold rice, and another one sold beans, and another one sold flour, and another one sold. So you had a dispersed collection of people who either did agricultural work or were small merchants moving stuff around. They're all wiped out by the influx of Walmart. Because Walmart comes in, replaces all merchants by selling all the same stuff much more cheaply, plus sourcing its stuff from all over the world, wherever it's cheaper, not buying locally. So the farmer has nowhere to sell, and the local merchant can't compete with Walmart. They're finished. And where are they going to go? They all go to Mexico City, but they don't have enough jobs in Mexico City, or in that maquiladora business on the border there, on the free trade zone. So they either die, or they can't go into the informal sector because they can't sustain them. They come to the United States. What else are they going to do? And millions of them come, millions and millions, because there's no other solution to this problem. And that solves the problem for Mexico, which could have no way to contain these people. So Mexico gets rid of people for whom there's no work, no income. But better, they go to the United States and they send money back to Mexico. After oil, the second number two export of Mexico is the remittance. That is, they don't export anymore, but these people who send money back, called remittances, back to Mexico. With the collapse of the last year and a half, millions, with an M, of Mexicans stopped sending remittances because they lost their job and are now going home from Mexico's income. These people are going home to an economy that couldn't sustain them before, and that now doesn't have the money that they used to send back, so he's in an acute crisis facing the influx of millions of people. Of course they're going to the drug business. There is no other business. And there are so many of them that you can send all the police forces you want. If you read up on this, you'll see that the police now say in Mexico, these people outnumber us, they have more resources, they're better equipped, and better armed. But we can't. And the military is very afraid of confronting them because they're not sure who's got a better handle on this either between these groups. They have an unlimited supply of labor. Unlimited. When you have an unlimited supply of labor, you can do all kinds of things. Imagine. So in many parts of the world, this has now become a second problem of this model of industrialization of 30 years in which the world industrializes to provide consumer goods for a tiny portion of it. Because of the instability of our global economy, because of its severe crisis, everything is now kind of out of whack, and the speculator goes crazy. People who have lost a ton of money over the last 12 months are eager to get some of it back. And when you watch the volatility of the markets, it's very tempting to think, well, this is so low, I'll get in and make some of my money back. Even today's stock market is a reflection of that. The stock market rose about 20% over the last few weeks. So people are selling now. They figure, well, they got 20%. Thing is such a terrible thing. I'll get rid of it now and wait till it goes down again, then I'll ride it up again. And you get this kind of, when there are as many people in a desperate financial situation to get their money back from all that they lost, you're going to get a lot of that. That's one. And the second one is that it is now believed that many of the third world countries from which these commodities still come are in such terrible shape that is, that there's a perception that they are in the situation that, say, the automobile companies were 5 months ago, right? That they're about to, in which case there will be social crisis, revolution, conflagration, and all the basic resources and sources of raw materials are up for grabs. I know. The political factor is sometimes referred to. That's half the reason of the speculation in oil. If you know how the international oil market works, if those bands of people that are basically out of control anyway in the backwoods of Nigeria cut enough of the pipeline, or if the Middle East blows up any one of 12 different ways that everybody knows about, then the oil is going to be whacked. So there are people who hold and buy oil just on that, that's it. They're not buying oil about use of oil or they're nothing. They're buying oil figuring they're going to make a killing the minute somebody in Venezuela, Nigeria, or the Middle East or Russia disrupts the basic oil and gas sources. All of this volatility, as people believe or don't believe that this is going to happen or that's going to, so they go in, they hear, I mean this, I know some of the people who do it, they hear a rumor that there are military movements of the Nigerian army in the back there where the trouble with the oil, and they wouldn't be moving the army unless it was a real, so I'm going to buy one. 3 days later, it turns out they were on a maneuver for something, boom, they dumped the oil. But they bought, 10 billion worth of oil over a 3-day period, and there's nobody else moving, you can get crazed. They're doing it, but it's a sign. Don't get lost in the detail. The sign is those who understand the markets understand the level of fragility of everything is greater than ever. Nobody knows. Everything is up for grabs. The whole developed system of the last 35 years, which is part of what this course is about, is over. And nobody knows what's going to come next. That's a field day for speculation. If you get it right, you make back all the money you lost in 12 months in 3 days. Get it wrong, you don't. But the temptation there for these people is enormous. Okay. Some of the people competing win. It is very impressive to look at China, India, and Brazil. And even in a peculiar way, Russia. And the four of them, and you sometimes hear referred to as the BRIC, B-R-I-C, Brazil, Russia, India, China, because they were successful enough to develop a real industrial base, not to be completely dependent on export, heavily, but not completely, or so successful in building an industry for export that there is actually a chance they might, if they had enough time, reorient it so it becomes a balanced economic development. Though that's possible in those four countries in a way that it isn't anywhere else, and that has given them a prestige, a power, an attractiveness for foreign capital to go in there. It's given them a very special position in the world. And if you follow international affairs, you'll see that. They are important. In these international meetings, they get together often and they push. The Russians did it because of their isolation from the rest of the world, and the Soviet Union did that. The Soviet Union transformed Russia from a right? You all know that, right? 1917, a revolution. Russia is a very backward country. 95 or 6% of its people are farmers. It's a third world country. It really was. Farmers, very, very backward. No education, no roads, no nothing. Right? And in a very short time, the Soviet Union, under Stalin, created a superpower of industrial management. It really was an extraordinary achievement. No one had ever done that before, and they remain the great model. The only country that's come close to them is China. And since it's Russia and China, it gives you something to think about. But most Americans would rather not think about it, so they don't. And it's up to you to decide how you handle it. But in any case, they are, in the case of Russia and the case of China, it was their communist ideology, if you like, and their commitment that did it. But that wasn't the case in India, and it wasn't the case in Brazil. So that is a way of doing it. It's not the only way of doing it. In those two countries, Brazil and India, it was a different combination of phenomena, particularly a tremendous, unique nationalism that was very, very powerful in both those societies. Fascinating for you to ask the question, which you could ask in a paper if you wanted to write one. What is it about Russia, about Brazil and India? Why did those countries, why were they able to do something that other countries on either side of them, for example, weren't? That's an important question. You know, you might want to think about that. Brazil, for example, is the only country in Latin America